Welcome, fight fans, to this edition of Combative Numbers, where we're going to break down UFC 196 main event now, the new main event between Conor McGregor and Nate Diaz. This main event happened, or got changed last week, actually, when Rafael Dos Anjos broke his foot, couldn't make the fight, coming March 5th. So now we got a replacement in Nate Diaz. A lot of people have mixed feelings about this fight. Some are happy for it, some are not so happy for it. Some people don't like the fact that McGregor is going to fight Nate Diaz. Some people love it, so a lot of mixed reactions. But the interesting part about this fight is that there was a lot of opponents considered for Conor McGregor in this fight. So with me, as always, is Big Poppa. Big Poppa, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, thank you very much.
Great. So as you know, Big Poppa, big main event change for UFC 196. Conor McGregor now versus Nate Diaz. But like I said earlier, a lot of opponents got considered for this fight, including Uriah Faber, Jose Aldo, Frankie Edgar. In your opinion, Big Poppa, is this the best opponent for Conor McGregor in Nate Diaz?
Oh, absolutely not. I have no idea how he was selected. The only explanation, there's a lot of ways to look at this. If you look at it from a fighter's perspective, that's one opponent you would pick. If you look at it from a fan's perspective, that's a completely different fighter. And if you look at it from a business perspective, what's best for business, that's just another opponent. So, you can't always please everybody. It's rare when you can. But as a purist, I've been with great fighters. I've been with world champions. I know what it's all about. I've been behind the scenes, so I have a grasp of the whole situation overall. And at the end of the day, it's about the fans. You're trying to put on a good quality show. Would I have picked him? No, definitely not. Because there's just too many variables. Like he's been very undisciplined at times. He's had trouble making weight. He's tall. He's a tall guy for his category, but he's very lanky, very skinny. He has very little power. He hardly knocks anybody out. He's really good on the ground game. He has a black belt, which we'll go into later on. But I don't see him threatening Conor at all. I see other fighters that could have been a bigger threat. Now, what does he bring to the table? I'm sitting here going like, what does he bring to the table? When they announced that fight, I go, oh brother, is it some notoriety? Because he's had some issues where like the anti-system sort of thing, and and then they get squared away, and then he's okay with the UFC again, and then the Diaz brothers, and then all these stories you hear about them, and in other words, he's somewhat controversial. So you're just like, okay, between some quality fighters that are not as known, like who's gonna grab the most attention, so to speak? Who do people want to see him beat up? Some people want to see him get beat up, want to see Nate Diaz get beat up, and some people are like, want to see like, well, what would happen if because he says he's not motivated by anything. He wasn't being motivated. This fight is a motivation for him. But even though he did say on short notice, so he's already giving us an excuse why he's gonna lose. But I don't know. Like I said, I could see for this particular fight, I could see it's going to be a draw. It'll be somewhat of a draw, more than some of the other names that I think are way more qualified, but they just don't have that notoriety. And this is like, given that the championship's not on the line, this was a viable option. I'm not thrilled about it. I would have loved for him to get that second bout. Somebody way up in the UFC family made a statement in a conference in LA about how it's not always about belts. Sometimes it's bigger than that. It's like, I don't see how this fight is bigger than the belt. I never knew about them having issues, and if they did, it's like, it'd be weird because Diaz is Diaz. He's in the middle of the lightweight division, and Conor is the unstoppable world champion at this moment. So what value there is there? That's not title. The title was going to take Conor to be the first time ever two division champion. That's exciting. How this fight can possibly have more value than making Conor the two division champ, I don't know. I don't even know why that was said, but whatever, because I was already thinking of going for the third title. I was so far ahead. I was so on the Conor bandwagon, but now we have to back it up and get an easy W. It's going to be an easy W. So am I thrilled about it? No. Were there other opponents that could have given him more of a run. Yeah, undefeated Khabib Nurmagomedov. He's undefeated, and he's in the lightweight division. Would I wanted to see Eddie Alvarez? No, because I just don't like that style. Conor McGregor's exciting, and Eddie Alvarez to me is just a lot of decisions. He's in the division world, and I'm not a big fan of decisions. That just means you're just too even. And McGregor's been standing out above everybody else. But Khabib, because he's undefeated, would have been more of a challenge. Even Anthony Pettis, if he got his mind straight and just he has the physical attributes to be would have been what he was considered once an unstoppable monster. But now he has to get his head straight. That would have been more of a viable opponent. But the one I would have loved to see, but he just fought, was Stephen Thompson. Like, if he's gonna go into the welter, let's go into some bad boys. Stephen Thompson, to me, has shown me a lot, and he has been knocking people out. And he, as you saw, he put Johnny Hendricks away recently. So that one would be exciting to watch. But that's not going to happen. How they were going way down into the low divisions for McGregor, who's getting bigger and bigger, and not only thinking of going lightweight, but now even welter. And they're going down to like the Frankie Edgars, which I've had many discussions with people. I mean, no disrespect to Frankie Edgar. I think he's an amazing fighter, but I don't want to see him against McGregor. I really don't. Jose Aldo, I think the same thing will happen. I think he'll get knocked out again. He had his big chance. He didn't step up. Next. But the fact that they were even mentioning Uriah Faber, are you kidding me? Even Uriah said, I'm little. I was going to have to just do some ground. How that name even came up in the conversation is beyond me. I mean, it's like Uriah Faber hasn't even been a champion. He can't even win the title in his own division, and they're gonna give him a superstar like McGregor. So how some of those talks, maybe it's just rumors out there, but when those topics come to me, I'm just like, I don't even want to hear about them, because to me they're ridiculous. I don't even think there's room. I don't even have time to be talking about such ridiculous subject matters, because it's not even a fit. So that being said, I would have liked to have seen more of a challenge for Conor if he wasn't going to fight for the title. I want the title. I want him to have the title. I want him to have both titles. To me, this is just a freebie, an easy fight against a guy that's tall, lanky, skinny, has no power. Yes, he's deadly and dangerous in a lot of ways on the ground, but I'm not convinced at all. But oh well. I mean, like I said, is it sellable more than some of the other opponents that probably are more worthy? It's somewhat sellable, just because he's a little controversial. So maybe that was a band-aid, a quick fix. So I don't know.
Well, there's one thing for sure that we are going to get in this fight, and that's a lot of talk. Nate Diaz comes in. He loves to talk, and as we all know, Conor McGregor is, his remarks on the microphone have been some of the greatest, in my opinion, in the UFC. Even though some people are saying he's getting a little out of line on the microphone here recently, but it's all about the show, and McGregor understands that, kind of like what Floyd Mayweather did whenever he was boxing. Floyd Mayweather in the beginning of his career, said a lot of things on the microphone that got a lot of people, angry, which is kind of the same. He's kind of getting the same, the same recipe that Mayweather did, except he's putting it in MMA, and I think it's very effective. So one thing for sure is this past week there was a press conference between Nate Diaz and Conor McGregor. There was a lot of things said. Both of them went at each other. Of course, Conor McGregor being more outspoken. Nate Diaz was kind of more quiet, but he did get his shots in. So Big Poppa, after watching the press conference and seeing both fighters, what did you get? What feeling did you get after seeing both fighters, talk to each other and being face to face with one another?
I mean, like I said, I'll say this once, I'll say it again, and I'll say it over and over and over. Everything comes with a mindset. Yeah, the physical is important, your strength, your speed, your ability, and all that. That's a major factor. That just takes discipline, and whatever ability you have that ability. But the mind is huge. I've called out so many fights because I could tell which fighter has a strong mindset and which one doesn't. In this case, even when you saw them on their standoff, you could clearly see that Nate's a bigger guy, taller. But did he have that killer instinct, that killer look that I'm just like, holy cow, he's in his grill, he's it means something to him? I don't know. I mean, he said in one of his recent fights that he wasn't motivated, that there was no challenge ahead, and and it's like, okay, well, if this isn't a challenge, I don't know what is. I mean, he just got the chance of a lifetime. It's not for the title, right?
It's not for the title.
Yeah, so it's like, see, I don't know, when the title's not in the middle of it, and it's just a grudge match or whatever. Well, where was the grudge before this fight? Did you ever hear there was a grudge between them?
Nate Diaz was upset with Conor saying that he stole his show.
He stole his show. Nate, you're ranked 5th or 6th or whatever. You're in the middle of the pack. You haven't earned that right. You know, McGregor came, stormed the mountain, took no prisoners, took the title, is going for another title. You know, he's the top of the food chain. You know, for Nate to be saying that he stole from him, okay, now you're going to have your chance to prove it. If he stole something from you, if somebody steals something from somebody, you're going to get it back, right? Well, okay, let's show us what you're talking about. But that's not going to happen. You know, it's like Nate's in a fantasy world. If he really thinks that somebody stole something from him, it's like just because half of your last 16 fights are losses, you know, you haven't earned the right to have a fight of this magnitude. You really haven't. Yeah, you're a warrior. You've been around and you have some ability and some skill. But have you put together like a 10-win fight streak of, you know, and like 7 KOs in a row, or, you know, or 8 submissions in a row or something like that? No. So I mean, I don't get it. But like I said, it is what it is, you know. But like, you know, mentioning the press conference, he was pretty quiet. Some people said that the mic wasn't working and that's why you couldn't hear him. I heard a lot of F-bombs.
There was a lot of F-bombs.
He kept, and that's easy. That's like a little kid just throwing off the F-bombs. And all he kept saying is, they didn't even say that everyone in UFC is on
steroids, yeah.
I mean, what the hell is that about? I mean, you know what I mean?
That's a pretty big accusation.
So that's why he's so skinny. I mean, is that what is his inference? What was the point of that? You know, he was saying everybody. I mean, he's literally throwing the whole UFC into that, and I'm sure that's not the case. But and according to him, everybody's on it. Somehow he's in everybody's camp, I guess, and he's doing the monitoring or something. But you know, that was just a ridiculous. Why would he say something that dumb? Just to cause attention. In public, you know, why would he throw something out there like that? And then he says, this is where his alibi. He already has his alibi. He already has his reason why he's going to lose. So for all you people that are, oh no, he's going to give him a fight, he's already giving us his reason why he's going to lose. He says because he didn't have the benefit of a full camp to prepare. In other words, he already knows he's going to get a whooping. And then he says that McGregor fights a bunch of midgets. I mean, I don't know if they're midgets. They're small guys. They're not the biggest guys in the world. Okay, I looked them all up to see their sizes. All right, they're a bit shorter. Okay, I get that. But that's all he had to say. Now, there was a huge amount of comments made by McGregor. So it was like 10-1.
Right.
Yep. But, you know, you said something very interesting. You said that McGregor, the word's getting around, that some of his comments, they're not the ones he should be making. Mm-hmm. So he has a great team. He has a great camp. He has his posse with him and everything. But he needs somebody to, you know, kind of monitor some of those comments, because some of those comments are going to get him in trouble. Yeah. He's not the first. I mean, all the world champions, people who get the limelight, they're under the microscope, so to speak. They get their everything's monitored, everything you say, and everyone's looking, and that's just part of the nature of the beast. Mm-hmm. But some of those comments, you know, it's like if I was consulting him, you know, one of his consultants, I would be like, dude, be careful, because you don't want people to not appreciate your talent. You know, I mean, he was saying that he wants to make, that was funny, that he wants to make his own belt, like his own division, the McGregor belt. That was kind of cool, you know. He says he rules the West Coast and the East Coast, so, you know, I guess that's a little Big E and Tupac-ish, you know. Okay, so
we're going back to the 90s in that one.
It's obvious that the U.S. has largely impacted the way he thinks and stuff, you know. He gives Nate credit for taking the fight. There's so many stories about who accepted, who didn't accept, who claimed injury, who, you know, whatever. But okay, whatever. You know, he's letting him fight. According to McGregor, he allowed Nate to go to 170, not have to make weight. So in a way, is that in Nate's favor? I don't know, because he's always been really skinny, really lanky. So yeah. We'll see. Now all of a sudden, is he gonna have punch? He's never had it before. So we'll see. You know, a statement that I've heard from a lot of media members, and they were upset, and they were just saying like, oh wow, that's why I wasn't happy with the McGregor statement, because he's messing up his own brand when he does this. He called Nate a little cholo gangster. I mean, unless you've seen the street gangs of up north or LA, for God's sake, you wouldn't even be talking about those people unless you've been in those neighborhoods. They're pretty vicious, man. And to be just throwing Nate out there. I've never heard that Nate was a gangster, but according to McGregor, he is. And then, but that's I don't know. And he called him from the hood, and then the worst one, he called him a skinny Mexican. Now he's throwing the most powerful group of people that watch concerts and fights, the Mexican people. Even their head people have said that the most passionate and the best fans in the world are Mexican. And now all of a sudden you're calling, the big fights at the MGM are always usually involving a Mexican. You could bring them from other countries. You could be any nationality, but the big ones are with the Mexicans are usually involved. Barrera, Morales, Julio Cesar Chavez, Canelo. You know what I mean? Those are the huge draws. So when you throw out a statement like that, okay, let's validate that you called him a skinny Mexican. I've never even heard Nate say like that he was Mexican. Have you?
No, not even. Do you even speak Spanish?
I think if I remember correctly, I remember Nick said he didn't speak Spanish.
Yeah,
and I doubt Nate speaks Spanish. And then I've never seen them wearing anything Mexican.
No, not at all.
Or going with the Mexican flag. So to just kind of like throw a blanket on him of just Mexican, it's almost like, are you insulting him or the whole fan base? It was, to me, it was just kind of like, dude, I'm on Team McGregor. Don't do stuff like that. You know what I mean? Don't do that, because when you're doing that, you're downing a lot of world champions. Salvador Sanchez, the great legend, and then the great legends in Los Angeles. Oscar De La Hoya. Oscar De La Hoya is not even a skinny Mexican. He's Mexican American. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it kind of like, but then you're like, well, he's coming from Ireland. He
doesn't know the rules.
He doesn't know the do's and don'ts. So I'm hoping somebody. UFC is a very intelligent organization. I mean, they clean stuff up quick if they have to when things are off. They got to address this. Yeah. Like, don't do that again. Just don't do it. Because you have all our fans. I mean, at the last event I went where McGregor fought, remember those Latino kids that were there?
Yeah, there was a lot of them.
The Latino kids were totally backing you up, dude. I mean, they were totally going crazy when you took out, was it Mendes?
Yeah, Mendes.
Yeah. And then to hear you saying something like that, you're basically belittling them too. So I'm just like, just keep it professional. Don't make it personal. Definitely don't get ethnic like that. I mean, just don't do it.
You're right.
But anyways, he said, McGregor also said that no one stepped up. He said Dos Anjos it's a bruise that's not broken. So I don't know. Okay, there's no way we could know that. He said that Aldo bailed. They just disappeared. So
he wasn't in shade.
McGregor has his mindset that everybody just kind of punked out, so to speak. It was funny when he asked Nate, how does it feel to be a millionaire? I mean, dude, if I'm Nate, being Nate, half of his last fights, his 16 fights, I think half of them have been losses, if I'm correct. I would be like, thank you. Thank you for giving me this ridiculous opportunity. I'm going to make a lot of money, and I really don't deserve it. I mean, does Nate deserve it? No way. But you got to give it to McGregor for giving him that opportunity. He says he doesn't get out of shape like Nate. Okay, that we could see that one. He also said that Nate looked really thin against Dos Anjos, which he did. This was interesting when Nate was saying about I keep saying Nick, when Nate was saying about the roids and all that substance or whatever stuff, and then how McGregor told him, well, how about your teammates? Like, two of them got caught, right?
Right.
So he threw it right back at him, and Nate couldn't say anything. He had to sit there and just take that one. McGregor feels that Nate can't handle his ferocity. One thing he said that they all have broken V's. I don't know if you don't know what V's mean, but the female part, that everyone's injured, and he threw in there Frankie, Aldo, Dos Anjos. He threw them all in basically saying they punked out. He said Nate is an amateur, lacks ring control, generalship, and that Nate's going to learn the difference between being an amateur level and a world champ level. So that McGregor says he's going to be going 100 miles an hour like a greyhound. McGregor's motivated by the movement of money. He says he's the best fighter, and that Nate has put footwork and he has a soft body, which he does. So a lot of those statements were valid. Some were good, some were not, some were funny, some were not. But it's like as he's getting bigger and he's becoming this huge name, you gotta be very, you gotta see which way everything's heading. He's the one that said it's about the money, the movement of money. Well, that being said, my friend, in the United States, they say the Latino movement is $1 billion, if not more, of purchasing power, and they watch concerts and they watch fights. So. Just be careful with some of those statements. just so that the money movement could keep going, you know. I mean, but he does good things with it. He's taking care of his. From I recently read he takes care of his posse. He bought him a huge house here. He really acknowledges his team. His girlfriend is the one that watches his money. So he's very tight with his people. That's admirable, you know. His one of his idols is Muhammad Ali. You know what I mean? Boxing. So you know that was of interest, you know. So we'll see. I mean, like I said, we just after that press conference, I looked at McGregor and I just remembered a lot of people that became very big, very popular, became even idols. How it just suddenly things can start changing when you're in the eye of the monster, so to speak. When you're being seen by everybody, and all of a sudden you might say things that you're just like, oh shoot, I shouldn't have said that. I should have been. And in this one, I noticed a few comments from a lot of people that they were just like. It kind of made him look at him a little different, you know. I mean, I'm totally still on the McGregor bandwagon, but all I would say is like, be careful, you know. Some of just write down maybe the stuff that you're gonna say so that it's on point.
Well, like you say, man, there was a lot of statements said, and it was pretty interesting, you know, from my point of view. I saw it. I mean, I knew it was going to be a lot of words. I knew it was going to be, you know, going back and forth. I was a little surprised that Nate didn't engage a little bit more. He started out good, but then he kind of quieted down. I guess he's just ready for fight night. Or like you say, maybe he already knows he's going to get a butt whoop and doesn't really want to say much. Just collect the paycheck and, you know, move on. You know, you never know, you know, with these fighters. But I do know one thing is that, you know, Nate Diaz says he's going to bring it to McGregor. We'll see on March 5th. You know, it's easy to talk, you know, but it's one thing, you know, when you're in the cage face to face with your opponent and bringing it to him. So going with that, Big Poppa, you know, as you know, this is a welterweight fight. It's not even a lightweight, you know, which Nate Diaz usually fights a lightweight. Conor McGregor being the featherweight champion. They're moving up, you know, Conor McGregor moving up 2 divisions, Nate Diaz going up 1 division, going to welterweight division, but there's no title on the line. You know, the one thing about the fight on March 5th when he was going to fight Dos Anjos was, like you mentioned, it was going to be a history-making fight if Conor McGregor beat Dos Anjos, meaning that he was going to be the first time ever 2 division champion at the same time. Now, with Dos Anjos being hurt, that's not the case anymore. Dos Anjos is out. Title fight is off the table. Now you're just fighting Nate Diaz. So does that really make a difference in your opinion that it's not a title fight anymore, or should Conor McGregor be in those big fights and only fight title fights at this point in his career?
You know, just because of what he's trying to do, he's trying to make history, and every time you fight a grueling fight, it's wear and tear. I would pick him very carefully. I mean, if I'm his manager, I would be very careful. I mean, this fight, I don't think it's going to be a big deal in the sense that I don't think it's going to cause any damage, you know, of major consequence. But when you start facing guys like, you know, Numa, Gomedov, or like the Stephen Thompsons and guys that can really hurt people, I mean, you don't want to be, you know, playing with fire like that. You know what I mean? I mean, those are going to be great fights. They're going to be waiting for him. As soon as he keeps advancing, I mean, he's not going to go past welter, right? I don't think you're going to the middleweight division.
You never know with Conor McGregor, man. That'd be crazy.
I mean, well, yeah, that's true. But I mean, let's suppose he were to get those 3. It gets pretty big. When you start getting into those other bigger guys, I don't know. I don't know if I would mess with that. But there will be guys waiting for him that have earned their spots. They're undefeated. They're beating everybody up. And, you know, they're going to be obvious contenders for him, you know. So, but do I think Nate Diaz was the right pick? Like I said, from a business standpoint, comparing him to the other ones, like, is Khabib really known? Not really. Is Stephen Thompson really known yet? Not really. Even though they're earning their stripes, they're not as known as Nate Diaz. But Nate, like I said, it's only because of the stuff he's done and said, and, you know what I mean, controversial. So then you say, okay, well, we got to put somebody in there, somebody that people know, and that it might pique an interest just to see what happened. It was a business decision, you know. I mean, and you know how hard it is for the UFC to have to deal with all these injuries. I mean, first the Kane one against Verdum went down in flames, and then what was that other one that went down in flames?
There was
that wasn't the first one. That it kind of went. It's been like a
train of injuries.
A trend of it, yeah. Now this one with the Dos Anjos going down,
yep.
And you know, it's kind of like, holy cow, you know, and you got to find somebody.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. It's like you got to find somebody. So
Well, it's very interesting. It's going to be very interesting. Like you say, I mean, a lot of people are saying that, they wish that, Conor McGregor would be in a title fight. They kind of wish that they'd kind of hold back and wait till the Sanjos got better. Maybe move him up at 200 against Robbie Lawler. Maybe this is why they're fighting at welterweight. Does he beat Nate? If he beats Nate Diaz, maybe he'll fight Robbie Lawler at welterweight. But, if I'm a welterweight and all of a sudden Conor McGregor comes in and fights for the title, I mean, I'm kind of upset about that. But at the end of the day, like you say, it's all about business. What's best for business, and that's what matters in the UFC. It comes down to business. But let's talk a little bit about their styles. Now, as you mentioned it earlier, how Nate Diaz is not much of a puncher, although lately in his last 2 fights he's been trying to do some striking, not boxing but striking, decent striking, but he's more of a ground guy. We've all seen him in the ground, done pretty good in the ground. And of course McGregor has always been the striking guy. The one thing that everybody has yet to see is how good is McGregor on the ground, but we haven't been able to see that because he always knocks everybody out. So the styles of this fight are going to be very interesting. Big Poppa, in your opinion, how are the styles and which style wins?
I mean, like I said, McGregor in the past, McGregor, he brings pressure, he brings precision, timing, exactness, accuracy. He brings powerful strikes. He has like a bullseye accuracy, as we've seen by the devastation he's caused when he hits him in the right place. He has a switch kicks, his straight left, which is a strong straight left, his spinning kicks. But more importantly than anything is his psychological warfare. You could tell he works out like a beast. Like he says, he's being fed for this fight. His stomach is full at night. He's feeling strong. He works out hard. He's eating good. He's resting good. I mean, he's going to be a force to deal with. I mean, his record speaks for itself. He has a 15-fight win streak. 14 of his fights have not gone past the second round. I doubt this one's going to go past the second round. You saw what he did to Aldo. So he's a major threat. Like he says, he's a force to reckon with. There's a differential in size. Nate's 3 inches taller. The reach, McGregor's reach is 74. Nate's reach is 2 inches larger, which is 76. McGregor has a brown belt in jiu-jitsu, so he is versed in jiu-jitsu. A Brazilian jiu-jitsu. That Nate Diaz he's a black belt. So he with Cesar Gracie. He ain't no joke. I mean, honestly, I'll be honest. I'm going to be honest because I'm not bashing on Nate Diaz at all. I mean, I used to enjoy some of his fights when he looked like he's getting his butt kicked, and then he'd get him in these weird, crazy moves, or he'd
submission holds,
and then he'd win. And I'd be like, what? He was just getting mauled. And then he just, use that technique and those skills, and then he'd catch them, and then they were gone. And I would laugh so hard. He ain't going to be able to do that to McGregor. McGregor's just too fast. He's too mobile on his feet. Like he says, he's like a greyhound. He ain't going to be caught. And he hits hard. So, and now with that extra weight and the extra power, and honestly, I don't think Nate's going to stand a chance. He is taller. He has a longer reach. But McGregor, I doubt very much, is going to go on the ground with him. I mean, unless he wants to make a statement to the world and say, look, my brown belt could easily bleed a black belt. I don't see that happening. Do you? You're in the martial arts world.
I don't see it happening.
A brown belt bleeding a black belt?
No. I mean, it can happen, but you're taking a big risk.
Right? Yeah. You're like, it's like the odds go from 1 in 10 to 1 in 100.
Yeah,
right?
pretty much.
Right? So the stand-up game is the way to go for McGregor.
That's what's been working for him.
And McGregor, everything he's done has been his last 7 fights, TKO by punches. He did have a unanimous decision against Holloway. Is that what it was?
Yeah.
He had Brando, TKO punches, Poirier, KO punches, Silver, TKO punches, Mendes, TKO punches, Aldo, KO punch. So he's putting people away. Yeah, he's been doing it stand-up. Well, he's not going to go to the ground. It ain't going to happen. The thing that's very, very important that I've noticed that it's crucial is that, everybody keeps saying, oh, Nate Diaz boxes, but he only has 4 KOs. I mean, what are you talking about? I mean, a boxer, that means he doesn't have precision then, because that's what McGregor has is precision. He hits the spot that he's supposed to hit. And if he trains so much in boxing, how come he only has 4 KOs? I mean, that to me is very troubling. Now, he does have, 11 submissions, so that's respectable. But like I said, this fight's not going to go on the ground. This fight's going to be standing up. And here's the X factor right here. Nate has lost 8 of his last 16 fights. 7 of his last 8 fights have gone to decision. So this thing's going to either go a long way, which McGregor doesn't function that way. He doesn't go past the second round. And in the UFC, Nate's lost 8 of 21. So you're not talking about a guy that wins a lot of fights, or the majority of his fights. That's a lot of losses. And you're going into a fight against a beast like McGregor that doesn't lose, that specializes, that's precise, that's in there for the kill. This is an easy fight for McGregor.
And like you say, it's going to be very interesting to see those two styles. And, you know, I really do believe Nate Diaz is going to try to take him to the ground, but I do believe that McGregor will be the stronger fighter, and he's going to be ready for it. McGregor is a very intelligent fighter. He knows what he's getting into, and he knows that Nate Diaz, and actually, to tell you the truth, Nate Diaz will probably try to go in and outstrike McGregor, which in my opinion is a very crucial mistake, because McGregor is a great striker and he has a very powerful left hand, and if Nate Diaz is going to go in there and think that he's going to outstrike McGregor, it might be a very short night for Nate Diaz. And in fact, because McGregor has proven time and time again that left hand, there's not that many fighters that can stand it. One hit and they go down. So Nate Diaz, if I were you, I'd do whatever I can to take that fight to the ground, and really don't even listen to McGregor. Do your game and at least give yourself the shot of a victory. But going with that, Big Poppa, is there anything else about this fight that you see that maybe the fans or us we're not watching that could be crucial for either one of these fighters? You know, there's something that you're seeing that maybe Nate Diaz can do that other people are not noticing, that he could get the victory, or McGregor. Is there anything that, you know, the media isn't seeing, in your opinion, about this fight?
Yeah, there's something that Nate could do. I mean, but he's not going to do it.
And what would that be?
I mean, you know, simple. What does a boa do from the top of a tree when a prey's walking by? It lands on him and stuff, and gets him and just doesn't let him go. That's his only chance. Just he needs to find that one moment, because I'll give him that. He's deadly when it comes to jiu-jitsu. He is. Nate is skilled in that. I'll give him that. But Nate's got to come in with that mindset. That's why I keep saying the mindset. I don't think it's there at all. He's up and down, in and out, in and out. He's not consistent at all. That's why so many losses. I think if he were to focus and then get strong and really concentrate on opponent by opponent and go in there with the like McGregor says, with the ferocity. Without that ferocity, he's just a sitting duck. But if Nate were to somehow miraculously do a transformation from here till fight night and just be obsessed with the thought of winning, and just in his mind get the thought of, I don't know how, but I'm gonna get him, even if it's just one time. You're gonna have 5. No, you only have 3 rounds because it's not a championship fight. You have 3 rounds. Okay, well, I kind of showed it.
Well, it'll be 5 because the main events now for UFC go 5.
Oh, then even better. Well, then you have 5 long rounds, barring you get knocked out. If you could avoid getting knocked out. But so I would be ferocious and try to get McGregor close as soon as possible and get a hold of him. And like you said, try to bring him down if you could. If you can, I've seen you do some crazy things from standing up. He has some move. Nate has a move standing up too. But so I guess the answer to your question is ferocity. That ferocity that McGregor talks about. If Nate could turn that on, like, just kind of like if the guy did the worst thing ever to him, to his family, just destroyed his family and just alter his life, and he's just so upset about it that McGregor's the guy he wants to go after. If he goes in with that killer instinct, then it could get interesting. But I've never really seen it come out, so it's asking a lot. You know, but then this fight is such a big fight of such a fight of such great magnitude for him, that is this the switch that turns on that we've been waiting for all these years to turn on? I hope so. I don't know.
Well, it'll be very interesting to see for sure. So, in your opinion, Big Poppa, and what everybody wants to know is, you know, so with the styles breakdowns, as you know, Nate being the ground guy, McGregor being the stand-up guy, McGregor just pretty much dominating the UFC, right now. Nate, like you say, has lost 8 of the last 16 fights. Pretty much a no-brainer on paper, but we want to get it official here. Who wins on March 5th?
Well, I'll answer that question in a second, but that was a very good point. The transition that McGregor had to make to Nate, because Dos Anjos is pretty ferocious. He's pretty aggressive. And that would have been a good fight. Still, McGregor, I think, would have won. But this is just a lesser version way lesser version, because he doesn't come with that fight in him. You know what I mean? So it's like a totally watered down version of Dos Anjos in Nate. So it's an easy call, 100% on McGregor. I mean, really dismantles him. He's saying he's going to take him off fast, like he's been doing, takes everybody out before the second round. I think that this is just another repeat. He's gonna catch him, and he's gonna hurt him, and he's gonna take him down. Unless, like I said, unless somehow Nate has that thing that he's never let out before, that beast in him. It's that beast button that just has never been used before. Unless that somehow turns around, unless Nick Diaz has a powwow with them and just like, come on, get him or something. I see this as an easy victory for McGregor. But something I've been getting a lot of questions from fans everywhere. What should he do? What should he do? You've been in the sport a lot, and you've seen what happens in the ins and outs. And I'm McGregor. I don't deal with the small guys anymore. I skip them all. I already won the featherweight. Gone. I don't go down. Lightweight, get the title from Dos Anjos, and move on. Just why go back and clean house in divisions where you're the champ? There's no need. I see featherweight, lightweight, and then I would concentrate on getting that Robbie Lawler title away from him, and then maybe a really amazing fight against like a Stephen Thompson, which then he's in the big leagues. Now he's against guys that could really give him a run for his money. But I wouldn't even dabble with these smaller, like, prove that you're better than Frankie. Prove that. I wouldn't even go after Khabib. I mean, Khabib. He's won. He hasn't lost, but he has quite a few decisions there lately. But the one that's impressed me is Stephen Thompson. I think that's the guy to watch. That's the guy to keep your eye on. The Wonder Boy. Yeah, I was impressed in his last fight, and I'm like, whoa, that guy keeps his head on straight. He could be a potential amazing fight. The rumors have always been circling about St. Pierre coming back,
right?
But he's been out of the game for a while now. So. I don't know, man. If I'm St. Pierre, that's another thing. St. Pierre went from being a stand-up guy where he first started, but then once he got knocked out, he became like a total ground guy. I mean, total ground and guy on the ground. That just changed his whole, who he was prior to being knocked out. So he's going to fall into the category of all these guys that are ground guys. McGregor knows how to deal with those guys. So no, this Stephen Thompson guy, he can kick, he can hit. That to me is the guy to watch out. But avoid these other guys, all these other guys in the other smaller divisions. Just get the titles and move on.
Well, it'll be very interesting, and in my opinion, it would be unfortunate if McGregor didn't face Frankie Edgar just to say it, just to say, hey, I beat you, because that's, in my opinion, that's clean out the division.
Does he need to? He took out the top guy, Jose Aldo.
In my opinion, clean out the division.
Has Frankie Edgar beat Jose Aldo?
Clean out the division.
Has Frankie Edgar beat Jose Aldo?
No, he didn't.
If he hasn't, get in line.
He didn't
Sorry,
beat him,
man. That's just the nature of the beast.
Clean out the division, in my opinion. But he
did. He took out the top guy, Jose Aldo.
Again, it's one of those things that McGregor, and his team have not fought Frankie Edgar, and it'll be something to see.
But they took the top guy out, Jose Aldo, in the first round.
And he was promised. I'm
done with that division, McGregor. You're done with that division.
And he was.
Let it go. Move on, baby.
He was promised a title shot by Dana, and Dana obviously went to Dos Anjos. For obvious reasons, of course. It is better for business, and you can't risk having McGregor lose against Frankie Edgar.
The big money fights are for the titles. The more titles he has, the more money he makes.
I agree with you.
He says that's what motivates him, the movement of money. I mean, did you know that he was like on what it said that he was on welfare in this country?
Yeah.
That McGregor was?
Yeah.
So now that he's making the money, he could take care of his family. He could take care of his friends. He's living large.
I agree. I agree with you. Look, I agree. You should fight the big fights. Why am I going to fight a guy that might beat me? I mean, I'm going to say, you know what? Let me stay the hell away from Frankie Edgar and let me go fight the guys that I know.
I don't look at it that way. I think stay away from the little guys. Let's fight pit bulls, not chihuahuas.
Well, again,
they're ferocious little beasts, but
if a chihuahua can beat me, which Frankie Edgar can beat Conor McGregor.
Oh, yeah.
So he can beat him, but let's not even go there because it's not good for business in the UFC. In my opinion.
Let me see Frankie Edgar first beat Jose Aldo, and then we'll talk.
But
they should. As a matter of fact, they should fight to see who deserves the fight against McGregor. If McGregor will grace the featherweight division
all
again.
know-
But I say McGregor, don't do it, baby, don't do it. Let's clean lightweight, and let's go to welter.
We all know that McGregor will not go back down, and we all know for sure that McGregor is protected. That's for what we said. He is protected. Hey, it's best for business. I agree with it.
Just because you don't fight the whole world doesn't mean you're protected. He's just making wise decisions.
That's not wise. I mean, McGregor's not making the decisions. We all know his team and Dana White and Lorenzo Fertitta are making the decisions. I mean, come on. We've been behind the scenes. We've been in the business before. We know how it works. I mean, that's the truth, you know. But going on from that, it's going to be a great fight on the 5th. It's going to be one of the fights that, you know, it's going to be entertaining to see for sure. You got Nate Diaz, you got Conor McGregor, two guys coming in there. One has something to prove or wants to prove in Nate Diaz, and the other one is just, in our opinion, just going in there and taking care of business and moving on to UFC 200, maybe taking on Robbie Lawler for the belt. So that'll be our show for today, ladies and gentlemen. Stay tuned for our next show. We're definitely going to break down a fight coming up in April that everybody is excited about. The rematch between Jon Jones and Daniel Cormier. And now, which things have switched in the sense that Daniel Cormier is the light heavyweight champion and not Jon Jones. But of course, Jon Jones is saying it doesn't really matter because I already beat this guy once. I'm going to go in there and beat him again. Daniel Cormier has a different opinion, saying now I'm really going to beat you up. We'll break that down fight for you next time. Big Poppa will get all his stats, get all his information, and we'll bring it right here, all the details in combative numbers.
And don't forget to watch the women's fight. That's a great fight.
And don't forget about the Miesha Tate and Holly Holmes fight, of course.
Yeah, that's a very similar situation. That's a great stand-up person against a great ground person. Once again, the stand-up person wins. That's an easy one.
So again, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, ZMoxieEmpire.com. That's our website, our YouTube, our Twitter, our Facebook. Just subscribe. If you have any questions for us, send us the questions. If you have a fight that you want us to cover, let us know about the fight. So for Lavish, Larry here, and Big Poppa, we'll see you next time on Combative Numbers.